Hi, this is Kellie Huff with Savannah Educational Consultants. We're here talking today about SAT versus ACT, what every parent needs to know in 2025. And I have a special guest with me today, Nancy Rolfing, who is the tutoring coordinator at Savannah Educational Consultants, a firm that not only provides comprehensive college counseling, but also one-on-one SAT and ACT prep tutoring. Nancy, welcome today.
Thanks, Kelly. This is a topic I talk about every day with families, so I'm psyched to be here.
We're excited to have you speaking on this topic today because a lot of people want to know about all the changes. So let's just dive right in and start with all these test-oriented policies, test optional policies that we have now. Are students even taking these exams still?
Absolutely, they are. And even though some schools are test optional, strong test scores can still make a big difference in admissions, in merit aid, in class placement. Where I work at Savannah Educational Consultants, we recommend all students take these tests because the potential benefits are significant and we don't always know which colleges they're applying to and which one of those will be score optional when they do apply.
Mhm. Well, that's so good to hear. So why haven't they become irrelevant?
Well, the thing is we're seeing many schools start to reinstate these testing requirements. For the most part, uh, it's for certain programs and scholarships, but also tests can be a valuable way for students to stand out, especially if they're applying without a long list of APs or extracurricular.
And so let's talk more about the latest changes. I hear that the ACT is now offered online. What does that mean for my student? How should they prepare for that differently? What should they expect?
Yes, it's now got a digital option. It's the same content as the paper version, but with digital tools like an on-screen calculator, the ability to flag questions for review, highlighting tools. Students can still choose the paper version, but here's the catch. The paper ACT is still in the old format.
Mhm.
That's going to change come September 2025, when both the paper and the online ACT will be identical. So we recommend that students take the paper version because there have been just a few hitches with the online version, much like the SAT has experienced going online. So until that's straightened out, it's best to stick to the paper version.
Interesting. So right now the experience is different depending on which version a student chooses.
Yeah, but there are changes coming.
Okay.
The online ACT has fewer questions overall and gives student more time per question. So that's a huge win for students who had been feeling rushed with the former version. Another major change is that the science section is now optional, and that gives students even more flexibility.
That's a big deal. What about extended time? Does that still exist?
Yeah, both the SAT and the ACT offer extended time accommodations for students who qualify, typically through documentation like an IEP or 504 plan. It can make a huge difference, especially for students with processing or attention challenges.
And that would be for both the online and the paper version?
Yes, yes. The SAT went fully digital in 2024, and that's got the extended time. But the SAT is now shorter. It's around 2 hours. And what's different about that is it uses an adaptive format. And what that means is the test is adjusting to the difficulty of later sections based on the later sections might be more difficult based on how well the students are performing early on. So it's still very much focused on math and reading, but the structure's changed quite a bit.
Can you break that down with what each test looks like section wise? Tell us more.
Sure. So the ACT has four sections. It has English, math, reading, the optional science section. The ACT or the SAT now has the two sections, reading and writing, they've combined them, and math. The ACT uses the English section to focus on grammar and punctuation and sentence structure, while the reading section includes the longer passages. They're often about 750 words or more, and students answer multiple questions per passage. So these passages come from areas like literature, social studies, natural science, and humanities. The SAT reading and writing section, and that means they're also their English, that's what they call their English, by contrast, has much shorter passages than what they used to, and than what the ACT does. So they're no longer than 150 words and only one question per passage. And these will cover a mix of grammar or vocabulary and context and reading comprehension. As far as the math goes, both tests assess algebra skills, but the ACT goes further into geometry and trigonometry, while the SAT emphasizes algebra and data analysis. SAT math questions are also short, more than 150 words, and passage-based, and they stick with the one question per paragraph structure.
Wow, that's really helpful information. So if a student hasn't taken certain math classes yet, they might want to wait, is what you're saying?
Yeah, right. Ideally, students should have completed Algebra 1, geometry, and at least be in Algebra 2 when taking the SAT or the ACT. For the ACT in particular, foundation in basic trigonometry is helpful. The SAT is a little more algebra heavy, so if they're stronger in algebra and linear equations, they might want to go with that one.
Okay, that's great to know. So if we're looking at when and how to register, let's walk me through the logistics of that. When should families start planning?
We usually recommend that students take an SAT or an ACT diagnostic test in the summer going into their junior year. So that way we can see which test is best for them. And then they test 2 to 3 times in the spring of their junior year, and again, if they need it, in the fall of senior year. So early planning, of course, reduces stress. We recommend they take the test 3 times because colleges super score, and that means they're combining the best scores from each test section.
Wow. So how do you help families who are totally new to this process?
Well, we have college counselors, and our college counselors start with a full assessment. They look at grades, course load, student goals, colleges of interest. And once they've identified the students' needs and priorities, they let me know who could benefit from tutoring. Then I assign the tutors based on the subject needs, the students' learning preferences, and also personality fit.
Yeah, so it sounds like a lot more than just tutoring.
Absolutely. Yep. Our college counselors help families identify colleges that are a strong fit academically, socially, and financially. And they help with college requirements, application essays, deadlines, more. While we're happy to work with students at any point in high school, we really love when we can start with freshmen. And that way we can help them make smart choices all along the way. Their classes, activities, testing, and summer planning.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. But what do you do for some of my students that have test anxiety?
Oh yeah, test anxiety is real and it can have a major impact. Our tutors typically incorporate mindfulness, some time management techniques, positive reinforcement. We also have referrals for our special services if a student needs more targeted help in those areas.
What about families who just can't afford a lot of prep?
We're always willing to talk about options. Some families use a combination of tutoring and self-paced prep, and both the SAT and the ACT, they both offer fee waivers that can cover registration and even some application fees.
Okay, didn't know that. And so, how do we go about choosing between the SAT and the ACT? Which one is the one for my student?
Well, we won't know that until they take a diagnostic. So we always recommend a diagnostic test for each, and we offer those tests multiple times throughout the summer. some students just feel more comfortable with a specific test. You've got to remember the ACT has the 4 sections, English, math, reading, and the optional science. And the SAT has only 2, math, but the reading and writing are combined into 1 section. So they both now offer a similar amount of time per question, which is good. The ACT used to be very time constrictive, and it's no longer that.
So let's dig into that reading and writing section on the SAT and the English and reading on the ACT. What's the key to doing well in those areas?
Okay, so this is a great question, and one of my biggest advisements to kids is you really need to be a strong reader as a student. So those students who regularly read, especially classic literature and nonfiction, they tend to do really well because strong readers pick up on vocabulary, tone, structure, and argument. And vocabulary questions often feel easier for students who've seen those words in context in books, not just in flashcards, as you can imagine.
So just reading can make such a huge difference. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Daily reading builds stamina and the ability to track while you're reading the more complex texts. So for parents out there, if your child isn't reading regularly, please encourage them to pick up a novel or a magazine with long writing form. It makes a big difference.
Okay. How long should students plan to prepare overall? How much time should they devote to it?
We recommend 8 to 12 weeks minimum for focused prep. A little bit every day is always better than cramming. That's spaced interval learning. Ideally, students should spend a minimum of 15 to 30 minutes a day independently working on their skills, reviewing strategies, or taking short practice sessions. When they're with the tutor, then they can really hone in on their weaknesses and grow quickly.
And so if I have a student whose starting score is average or below average, what do you recommend for those guys?
Well, for them, it's even more of a reason to work consistently and get help. The national average for the SAT is 1028, and for the ACT, it's 19.4, and those are below what colleges are looking for. If a student gives a disciplined effort, especially with tutoring, we see big improvements. Here at Savannah Educational Consultants, we customize the approach to fit each student's timeline, their learning style, and their goals. We really want to help them succeed.
So it's been packed with information, Nancy. I've learned so much. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure, Kelly. And if parents are looking for personalized guidance, Savannah Educational Consultants, we're here to help you every step of the way.
So we've certainly learned that whether your student takes the SAT, the ACT, the most important part is planning ahead and giving yourself enough time to really prepare for it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, and have a good rest of your day, and we will talk with you again.
Yeah. See you next time. Thanks.